I'd like to start off by saying thank you for all of your prayers and thoughts. As many of you know, and if you don't know, I'll fill you in, don't worry. Last Sunday, you may have heard that I was in North Carolina to celebrate my sister's wedding. It was her first anniversary, and we hadn't celebrated her wedding yet, so we brought together our family and friends to celebrate this union between Andy and Brenda. And my sister lived in a very beautiful cabin out on the edge of the Pisgah National Forest. And she lives in this place that's so picturesque. There's a little stream that runs in front of her house. And her house is in Old Fort, which is 30 minutes outside of Asheville. So, as you can guess from the news, Hurricane Helene had different plans for the celebration. I'm still quite tender about the whole thing, and so if a tear pops up or my voice chokes up, you just hold me in that love. Hurricane Helene had different plans for the celebration, and instead of a wedding cake with her face on it, which I was really excited about, and a live band, my sister and her partner Brenda were trapped in their beloved home as that little stream became a mighty river that ran through the first floor. Only by the grace of God, they survived that ordeal as half of their house washed down the stream. Really, only by the grace of God. It actually makes no logical sense that that house stayed where it stayed. And they were rescued by a FEMA crew on Saturday afternoon and were put into the trust of their neighbors who lived in a house on higher ground. They lost their home and their cars and almost all of their beloved things. But they're okay in the sense that they are safe. On Saturday, Tom and I were 2 hours, well, first let me tell you where Tom and I were. Tom and I were 2 hours east, and we were staying with my folks as a way to, and as the storm was approaching, we kept postponing our trip into Asheville with good reason, and we were wise to do so. And we waited there with our folks the 28 hours that it took to hear from my sister. On Sunday, Tom and I hiked in to the neighborhood because there's no road. It's just river now. And we helped them out. And my sister carried her belongings in a couple of garbage bags. And we saw the first-hand destruction and the unfathomable losses that the hurricane brought. And so, when I read today's readings, I was like, I really have to talk about this, don't I, Lord? Today is the feast day of St. Francis. We picked these readings way in advance, and they're about creation, and they're about rooting ourselves in the everlasting, unchangeable nature and love of God. This is something that St. Francis practiced by doing in his life, as I mentioned in the children's sermon. The first reading is from the book of Job. It's this segment of conversation going back and forth between Job and God, where Job is talking about the suffering that he had entailed. He ended up in a whale, if you remember that. No, that's Jonah. Anyway, but he ended up in some sort of destruction of himself and had some great suffering. I felt like Jonah this week. And he was asking about that, and God was responding about the nature of God, not really answering the question that Job wanted, but really responding about the vastness of God's creation. The flight of the eagles, the birth of the mountain goats, the wonder in that vastness of creation. That creation is so majestic and so beyond our human control, right? And that Job really understood in that moment that awe, that sense of fear and wonder and majesty and beauty all wrapped up in one. That awe that is God. And God reassures Job by saying God is present in all of these things in ways that we are never truly able to fully comprehend. Boy, I felt that this week. And of course, the second reading, where Jesus speaks to the rich fool. This rich fool is so much like me and all of us, I think, because what we like to do is when we're successful in life is to bring and buy and be part of and have and store those things that bring us comfort and joy, those things that separate us from nature, right? We build these homes and we have these cars. We do these things to separate us from our own vulnerable selves. But that is not what stays. What stays is our relationships with each other, our relationship with our community, that love that we express in others and our community, and that is the love of God. Because my sister right now, she may not be she might not have the possession she had before, but what we understood as a family, and I'm still grappling with, and that's what the tears are. They're tears of joy, that we have a richness in our relationship and our love, and that I have a richness in this community. That is where we store. That is what we should spend our time and energy on. That is what will last. In this age where climate change has made it so that every storm seems to be unprecedented, and the only thing common about these storms is they are growing bigger and they are going to happen over and over again, that there may not be 100-year-old storms, but 10-year or even 5-year storms. In this age, we have to lean into the love and the presence of God in our community. That is where we find that resilience. Of course, St. Francis devoted his entire life to this notion and this concept, and he talked about this perfect joy he had. Perfect joy. He was so exuberant that people wanted to know what this joy was about that he expressed, and it was found in letting go of the things that he needed to let go. Letting go of those large storage bins. And today we celebrate the animals in our lives, which isn't unrelated, I'm telling you right now, because that joy and that love that we share with animals is exactly what God is talking about here. How many of you have been connected to an animal sometime in your life? It could be plants too, actually. I think that counts for our gardeners out there. I want you to take a moment and I want you to say out loud an animal or a plant or a being that you were deeply connected to in your life. Say it out loud. I give thanks for the Bert cat who dealt with my craziness as a child. I give thanks for Kismet, and I give thanks for Delilah, this crazy dog that's so crazy, full of love. I can't bring her today because she will love on all of you at all the wrong times. That love and that joy that we shared is the love and joy that we are to store up. It will stay way longer than the animals are here on earth. I give thanks for the blessing of this community, the strength that builds us together. I give thanks for my family and my sister, and I pray for all those who have lost loved ones. May we continue to devote our entire lives to the things that will stay. God's everlasting love in each other and in the beings we have in our lives. Amen.